The views and opinions expressed in each show are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its presenters as a whole. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kerry Greenaway. I'm in the studio tonight with my co-host, Mark Manley. Say hello, Mark. And we're with Paul Rook, who was just on the last show. Oh, I'm fine. How are you? You're in the dark, aren't you, darling? Oh my goodness. I know that was very naughty of me. I do apologise. I really do apologise. It is. It's my fault completely tonight. Oh, hold on. Let me double check everything. Oh, that's because it's me. I had you on mute.
Oh.
That helps now. We're not on mute.
Sorry.
Oh, dear.
I do love a mute button. You know this, guys.
Yeah, we've noticed. Yes. Yeah.
Can everybody hear them now?
Akila and Daisy and everybody else, can you hear us?
Yeah, see? Yeah. Me and mute buttons. See, you know this about me. I do love a mute button.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, they can hear us.
Yay! I think so. I think they can hear us now.
Yeah.
Good.
I think so.
Tell you what, it's a good job it was on mute when Paul did that dirty, great big passing of wind, because they didn't hear it, so it's cool.
That wasn't me, that was Kerry.
Oh, was it? Oh,
no,
yeah,
it was the dog.
Yeah,
it's always the dog.
I can see that.
Just remember this.
Clearly sounded, yes.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Tonight we're discussing water cryptids. I've been saying that word wrong all week. Mark has been going crazy. I'm not going to tell you what I was saying.
No, we're just not going to go there. Water cryptids, which is one of our shows on all different types of cryptids, as in elementals, air, earth, water, fire, hairy ones like Paul, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Hairy ones like Kerry, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Now, cryptids aren't my speciality, I'm not going to lie. They're more Mark's bag. He likes a bit of a cryptid, don't you, darling?
Cryptozoology, yep.
You love a bit of cryptid.
I do like the mysterious monsters that haven't been found yet.
So I bow to his experience on this one, and he has come up with some really strange ones, I'm not going to lie. In fact, like Paul said in the last show, we were going through it, and we hadn't heard half of these, babes.
No, I think it's just...
I've gone all around the world. You've got some in Japan, Africa, the UK, Europe, North America, and my homeland, Ireland.
And he'd done it all in less than 80 days.
He did. Yeah. He certainly did.
Now, we'll only be able to touch on a few because time always runs out for us, but,
Always runs out, doesn't it?
It's because of that previous show. They rattle on so bloody much. God.
You can't blame it on them. Goodness me. Of course they don't. Anyway, I want to start with something that we all know about, or a little bit about anyway, and that's our very homegrown Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Let's talk about Nessie to start with.
Well, they think that Nessie's probably a leftover dinosaur, plesiosaur, don't they? But because it's not the only plesiosaur that's in the world that's allegedly been seen, because there's a few. Actually, there's more than one in the UK, but we'll talk about Nessie for now. So, go on then.
Yeah,
what do you know?
I know that there's a big lake or loch in Scotland that has an alleged monster creature living in it that was allegedly photographed back in the 1960s, was it?
33, I think.
Oh, further back than I thought.
Well, close enough.
Yeah, you know, what's 10 years or 20 years amongst friends? And that was found out to be faked.
That's right.
And I also, I beg your pardon?
He finally admitted after about 60 or 70 years, didn't he, that he'd faked it.
He did. And Paul has another theory on the Loch Ness Monster, don't you, Paul?
I believe it was the elephant. Because when an elephant goes for a paddle, it's the head and the trunk that sticks out of the water, which would explain what that picture was.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is just to warn you about the dangers of drugs. Just listen to what Paul's come out with. Anyway, carry on.
No, it's been proven that there was a travelling circus at the time, and they used to let their elephants go off into the water.
No, that's very, very true. But, having said that, there have been a lot of sightings over the years, and I don't know if you recall, in the newspaper a couple of years ago, there was a bunch of university students conducting some sort of experiment in Loch Ness. It was nothing to do with Nessie or anything like that. It was, I can't remember, but they had a load of underwater cameras set up, and they had the trigger flashes.
Yep.
Anything went past it, it would trigger it off. And I remember seeing it on the news. It did make headline news. It triggered one of the flashes, and basically it caught the side of a head with a dirty, great big eye, and it wasn't a sturgeon. So, because I noticed there's rumours that there's sturgeon in there. Because
it was a big fish.
Yeah, but it wasn't a sturgeon though. But they caught something with a massive, dirty, great big eye, and it was nothing that wasn't previously known.
Aren't there eels in Loch Ness as well?
Yeah, they wear sporrans and kilts and stuff, so you know they're Scottish ones.
You know, right? If they ever do actually discover Nessie, do you think they'd say it's British and not Scottish?
Oh, we'll definitely claim it, won't we?
It's definitely Scottish.
No, but we would definitely claim it.
Yeah, we would say it's British.
You'd have to no, because then there'd be people going, no, Brexit, it's Scottish.
No, and then we'd go, no, but you're not left yet, so you're still us.
Yeah.
You're still with us, and it's now ours.
All the time they're part of the Union flag, it's ours.
Yeah, this is very, very true.
Isn't there, Mark, you was telling me about Loch Ness, though, you were saying that it's... I always believed, or always thought, that it was a brine. The loch was brine, but you were telling me something different, weren't you?
It's the largest... I think it's the largest and deepest body of fresh water in Europe, but it does have caves and underwater tunnels and this, that and the other that eventually go out to sea. So, it's somewhere in the tunnels it would turn to brine, but the lake itself, as far as I'm aware, that's fresh water.
Yeah.
And also, in regards to Nessie, there's been land sightings of, I'm going to say her, we're assuming she's a girlie. There's been land sightings, hasn't there?
Right, there's one who's supposed to have seen it cross the road. Will literally come across the road, slide down the bank and go in another water.
That just sounds like
in
a
front
joke.
of somebody's car.
That sounds like a joke, doesn't it? Why didn't Nessie cross the road?
To get to the loch, yeah. I mean, things like that have got to be taken a bit, ooh, did you really see it? Or, have you been sampling some of the old 8-year-old Jamesons there,
But I remember watching a programme donkeys years ago about the Loch Ness Monster, and there were several encounters of the alleged monster on the land as well as in the water, which would, by definition, make it an amphibian, surely?
Well, plesiosaurs could come out of the water anyway, because although they have flippers, they actually act as really strong legs anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of like a turtle or terrapin or whatever with the flippers, they're amphibious.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it can get out of the ground and run across the front of somebody in a Land Rover trundling along after bagging a few pheasants, I don't know.
Well, they did on Family Nest.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it. I knew after last night he was going to start talking about the family nest, and that was it. I was going to get the theme tune to the family nest stuck in my head again. So, do you know what? Forward, stuff you. I've got it back in my head again. Thank you so much.
Oh, dear.
Every time we've spoken about Nessie this week, poor old Paul has brought up the family nest.
There might be a family of them, you know. Otherwise,
it could
it'd be a bit lonely.
But there's not. Has there been any recent sightings of Nessie? I don't think there has there?
There's actually a website you can go on, and it keeps you updated. I think it was a couple of years ago. I did look at it briefly last night, but I don't think there's any very recent ones, no.
Well, maybe she died.
Well, there's also a photograph that was taken on one of the banks of the loch of some. I can only describe it in my most technical terms as a weird-ass skeleton. That basically looked like, well, it looked like a plesiosaur that somebody turned into a kebab. It was just a skeleton with bits of meat hanging off it. It was too big to be a seal, but nobody actually knows what it is. But I remember the headline of it was, "Is this the end of Nessie?" So, you know.
Well, we've got a Mike Zimmerman in the chat room. Welcome, Mike. And he said the last sighting that he had heard of was back roughly around 2012-ish. Does that fit with what you read about?
I think it was last night. Like I say, I literally just briefly looked at it, and some of the things I read on there, I just thought, no, those sound like people stuff. So that's why I left it.
That is difficult, isn't it? Because sometimes when you find these articles or whatever, when you're researching something, it's so difficult to verify unless you actually are able to speak to the people that experienced it for themselves. It's so difficult.
The latest sighting, because I'm on the website now, was 21st of August 2016. Ian Campbell, a government worker from Argyll, was cycling on the west side of the loch near somewhere I can't pronounce with his son and family friend when he pictured two creatures in the loch about 10 metres in length just out from the shore. And he's taken a couple of photographs and they're up on the website.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now,
I visited the loch in 2015 and saw absolutely nothing.
Did you go swimming in the loch, Paul?
No.
I think it would be a bit cold to swim in, though, wouldn't it?
It was, yeah, at that particular point of view that I went, yeah. No, so
there's June and August. June and August last year, the latest ones. Yeah.
The thing is, the problem is I have with this particular water cryptid. I'm so carefully saying that. So carefully saying it. There's a whole industry that's built up around it now, isn't there?
If you check a lot of the timings of these sightings, it's basically been tourist season, just before the start of the tourist season, and then the height of it.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. There's a whole tour. It's
like the Canvey Island monsters, you know.
You don't knock the Canvey Island monster. That was a water cryptid too.
It was, but it was a fish with an attitude.
There's lots of fishes with attitudes down here.
There's lots of things in Canvey Island with attitude, I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go there on that one. But what I'm saying is there's a whole industry around it, so it pays them to keep this myth, and it pays them to keep this, it's very helpful, isn't it, to their economy? That's where I'm going with this.
It is very helpful to their economy, but you've also got Lake Erie's monster as well, which is the same as Nessie. It's just supposed to be some sort of plesiosaur thing, or it's supposed to be a serpent. They're not quite sure which.
Okay, well, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that one then? What's that one? Bessie, yeah. There's Bo Nessie, who is in Lake Windermere, which I never knew there was one in Lake Windermere, but yeah, Lake Windermere. And it's another, well, it looks like Nessie, basically. So not sure if it's...
Maybe that's where Nessie goes on holiday.
I was going to say...
Perhaps it's where the family nest go for the holidays, yes, perhaps you're right. I mean, there are all these tunnels, so, you know...
Or even during tourist season. If they come out...
Perhaps...
That's what they do. That's why they're seen. That's why they're seen just before the. I'll let you start speaking in a minute. Just before tourist season, what they're doing, they're getting out of the water, and it's going over to Windermere for tourist week.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, all those eels and seals that you were talking about there, Kerry, with these underground tunnels and stuff, they've been opening up various branches of McDonald's and Starbucks under there for the family nest to stop off and get their beverages along the way to Lake Windermere.
Oh, we've gone into our own world of legends here, haven't we? I mean, goodness.
Yeah. And I see Daisy on the chat room there saying, Bessie is an old sighting. Well, I'm an old fart, so yes, it would be an old sighting because I brought it up. Moving swiftly on. Now, Bessie is the Lake Erie one, and she was first reported back in 1793.
Wow.
She was reported to be a snake-like thing that was 10 to 12 metres long. Wasn't that the one I sent you the photo about, that you were talking about, looked like a tadpole?
No, I thought that was like... Oh, goodness me, my brain's gone dead.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, that one.
Well,
I can't think what it's called now.
Yeah.
Hook?
Was it? Yeah, Bear Lake. That was the Bear Lake monster, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't think so. It was something different. Yeah,
I don't know. I've not seen the research.
It didn't look like a police saw that photo. I don't know. He's going to say that all night, isn't he? He's going to say that all night. I didn't get the research, so I can't answer that question.
I did send you the research, and yes, Daisy, you told me old. Yes, thank you so much. That I'm as old as a cryptid. Thank you.
I'm just looking at Hook Island. Hook Island is the one that looks like a tadpole.
There was just a complete nobody spoke then. There was just a blank space. You said something about a tadpole, and nobody joined in.
It was just this tumbleweed moment. We passed that over quite quickly.
Yeah.
That was the Hook Island one that looks like a tadpole.
So you've got Nessie, and then you've got Bo Nessie, who's in Lake Windermere, and then you've got Bessie, who's in Lake Erie, and they're supposed to have encountered one on the beach dying. It was writhing around in its death throes in 1817. French settlers, two brothers named Ducerve, found it, and they said it was described as 20 to 30 feet in length, shaped like a large sturgeon, except that it had arms. Really? The Panic Brothers fled the scene, and that when they later returned, the creature had disappeared, presumably carried off by the waves after its death. All that was left of its presence were marks on the beach and a number of silver scales about the size of a silver dollar. Yeah, so there you go.
Wow. I wonder if any of those silver scales, whether they collected any of them and whether they're in a museum or an archive somewhere.
I'm just having a look. They were French. They probably ate it on toast. A schooner that was going across the lake in July 1817 reported a 30 to 40 foot long serpent, dark in colour. And later that year, another boat crew spotted a similar animal, this time copper coloured and 60 feet in length. And this time they shot at it with muskets, but they had no visible effect. And a third encounter, again in 1817, was the two brothers. And then there was another one, 1892, where one was seen writhing about in the water. It looked like it was fighting with an unseen foe. These all sound like different types of huge eel.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, they sound like huge eels.
Oh, well, we've solved that one. Solved it. We've solved that one. That was an eel.
I've just had a look at some of the monsters in America, and there are quite a few that look like Nessie. You've got, obviously, Bessie. Yep. There's one called Caddy, Kessie, Chessie, Champ.
I can see a link here.
Yeah, exactly. Kipsy is one. And you've got Tessie as well, and Peddler, I think that one is.
Oh, yeah, that's the black sheep of the family by the sounds of it.
It must be, yeah. So there you go, you've got a whole family of them.
All around the world. They've all emigrated.
Well, with all the tunnels that run throughout all these Great Lakes and run underneath and go out to sea and this, that and the other, who's to say that they don't go out to sea? And, meet up and have a family nest jamboree, and they like to confuse the Sassenachs by the American ones appearing in the loch and the Scottish ones appearing in Lake Erie, just to fool everybody.
I think the Scottish one must be Sportiness. I think that.
Oh my goodness!
I've got that theme tune back in my head now. All right.
It's so. I'm so. Well, you should be so pleased we haven't got a music license. That's all I can say.
Because you would have made me download that, wouldn't you? I wouldn't have played it though. I would refuse to point blank to play it. Moving swiftly on. So
we'll be back there later. It's fine.
I'm sure we'll pop back to that subject. It's going to be a running theme, guys.
James Steele in the chat room said, "Oh look, family nest."
But it doesn't change the fact that this kind of creature, very similar looking, is being seen across the world, basically.
Well, I mean, my theory with all cryptids, not just water ones, but all cryptids, is we're still discovering new stuff every year. I mean, there's parts of the rainforest, there's parts of Madagascar that we're discovering more and more new species every single day. And like the sea, we only have a known knowledge of 30% of the sea. And you've got all the Marianas Trench and everything like that. Who's to say there are not all these tunnels that link all these places? And there's things down there that may come back from time immemorial. We don't know. Or as Kerry Ann likes to say, there's a plethora of things out there that we just don't know. I mean, we only know 30% of what's in the ocean at the moment.
This is true. This is very, very true. I mean, I'm going to move on to the Kraken now, because this is what I've just watched Pirates of the Caribbean, and the Kraken featured quite heavily in it, which is why I insisted we talked about the Kraken in this show, because I like the more mythology and legend side of it, whereas Mark likes real life cases, don't you, darling?
I like both, actually.
Yeah, but it was only after I said I want to talk about the Kraken that you went. I
think we should do an episode on the She-Hulk, because she's actually one of our presenters here. Oh, hello, Kerry. Carry on.
I beg your pardon?
Hey, what?
Are you talking about me?
Carry on.
Oh, I can see an after-show row coming. Right, now the Kraken. I want to talk about the Kraken. It was so beautifully depicted in that film, and it was gorgeous. I thought it was lovely. Probably no legendary monster was as horrifying as the Kraken, apparently, Mark.
That's right. And, well, basically the Kraken, as we know it, has... I've just read Daisy's comment about muting him. No. It appeared everywhere. I mean, it's in Greek legend. It's been... I think there's a Norse legend about some sort of Kraken creature.
That's right.
And there's also the Japanese one, the Akorokomaui. That's a type of Kraken as well. But for now, can you say that, Kerry? Can you? Let's talk about the Kraken for now, shall we?
That's why I said you're going to have to do the pronunciations, because I was reading this and could go, oh my god, no.
Basically, a Kraken, for some bizarre reason, if it took like an instant dislike to a ship that was going over its waters, it would just come up underneath, wrap its massive tentacles around the ship, and pull it under. But what you've got to bear in mind is, like, back then, in the times of Homer and his Odyssey and everything like that, when they were talking about the Kraken, ships were a lot smaller. Although they were warships, and you had people cramped in these conditions, and some even up to the times when cannons were about, they were still quite small compared to our ships. So, I mean, maybe back then you had the I can't remember what the name of that giant squid is called. It's a particular type, but
Squidus giganticus.
There's another one as well, isn't there? It's named after some sort of Squidus giganticus. You're very clever.
Massive squid.
Yeah, Massivus squidius. That sounds like something out of Carry On Cleo.
That's a technical term there, everybody. Another technical term for you there.
Massivus squidius. But who's to say that back then there wasn't breeding grounds that these ships were going over, and there was perhaps a lot more of them in those days than there are now, or there may have even indeed been a much bigger variant of them back then. And because those ships were quite small, really, in comparison, back then, as you know, they saw anything out of the norm, they'd try and kill it and then look at it later. So perhaps they went over to breeding grounds, tried to kill one of them, and he went, "No, stuff you, mate," and pulled the ships under the ground. Maybe that, because I'm a firm believer that all legends have to have something. There's got to be a spark there to start off a legend in the first place.
Can you imagine the calamari you'd get off it?
Oh,
Trust you.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would be. You could solve Ethiopia's food shortage problem, couldn't you?
James has brought up a really good point, actually. He said that maybe that the giant squids have been overeaten by whales, so they actually go deeper now.
Well, that's very true, but that also means the whales are extremely greedy.
But I thought whales were like less now than ever.
I thought they just like sheep.
The whale shall eat anything.
Yeah.
Pardon? He's got.
Yes,
he does
right.
this. He throws me curveballs, and I sit here and then go, "Oh, what do I do with that comment?"
Aquila, you're right. Yes, Beowulf was fighting the Kraken. I knew there was something in Norse mythology about him.
Didn't Perseus destroy the Kraken?
Odysseus.
Okay. With Medusa's head, wasn't it? I think.
That's right, yes.
You're remembering the film. We're getting our research from films.
Oh, that was the Titan, wasn't it?
Clash of the Titans. That film was Clash of the Titans. I'm not too sure the authenticity of the Greek mythology in that particular film. In fact, I think you'll find it really wasn't that accurate. And the same as Poseidon was supposed to control the Kraken, wasn't he?
That's right, yeah.
In that film.
I don't know. Don't remember.
Perhaps back then, well, you never know. Perhaps Odysseus was perhaps a sushi chef of his day.
Yeah.
And experimental. Have you thought of that? No, you didn't.
And he was the first one to invent calamari.
He was, and he used to bang his knives about and everything, which turned out to be spears. But, you know, he killed a few of his crewmates, but he got the job done. Giant-sized calamari for all.
Yeah. Sorted. Now we've solved that mystery.
Right, so that's a giant squid. This? Right, I want to go to the depths of the Congo for you, Mark.
Well, which one?
The one that looks like a dinosaur.
Oh, where's he gone?
I can't say the word. Emela Ntuka?
Emela Ntuka.
Well done. Very good.
Actually, that's been reported quite a few times, and it's been reported by quite reliable sources, if I remember rightly, because I can remember reading about this years ago. It's supposed to be part of the Congo, because my father was ex-SAS, and he fought in the Belgian Congo in the late 60s to early 70s. And I can remember him telling me years ago about stories of the natives, some of the natives there, like saying to them, don't go to certain parts of it because there was this beast and this, that and the other. And what they described, and I'm not going on my notes, I'm going from what my dad told me, it was some sort of weird diplodocus thing that lived out in the swamps out there. But it's not just the ravings of a drunken old Irish soldier. I think, if I remember rightly, Destination Truth, Josh Gates, they've been out there as well, and so have a few other mythological programs. They've been out there, and there's a lot of truth behind it. And there's a couple of places in the Congo you just don't go to, and the natives won't take you there, the trackers won't take you there, none of the guys will. Just trying to think. It's in the basin. It's similar to a lot. One of the reports similar to, but larger than a hippopotamus, and armed with a single long bony tusk or horn in the centre of its forehead. That sounds like a really angry rhino. The Amelia
It does, doesn't it? That sounds more like a rhinoceros.
The herbivore, but like the hippo, has a reputation for being confrontational if you disturb it. It's been known to turn on and kill creatures larger than itself, and its name means elephant killer. But I know there are reports of there being some part where there's supposed to be diplodocus there. So, it could be a dinosaur, or it could just be some sort of, I don't know, mammoth, mastodon sort of thing with a spike. I don't know. Maybe it's the Congo, so there are places out there and species out there we haven't seen yet.
But this is the whole point of cryptoids, isn't it? Water, or earth, whatever. Although we think we have well documented the planet, there are the depths of the ocean, we're still finding new species all the time. And the depths of the Congo, we are finding new species all the time. And I still think, though, if there was anything sizable, big, we would have seen it. We would have had it documented better, because it tend to be the more tiny species that we are finding, rather than big mammal type
but
species.
I mean, look at things like the sun bear. It's a new type of bear that was found, completely different from anything else. And when it was originally, one of them was attacked by locals because they thought it was an alien. And it wasn't. It turned out it was this weird sun bear thing. That's only been recently found. And that's quite large.
Paul, what's your take on this?
You're just mad.
Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world according to Paul.
We're all mad. Okay.
No, I mean, I can understand the whole creatures that haven't been discovered yet, and I would most probably say that, to be fair. But looking at more paranormal explanations, you could even say that some of them, especially with Nessie and the one in the Congo, saying was it could be some sort of time slip going on.
Do you know what?
A tear in space-time and all that.
I was thinking the land that time forgot, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, so it's sort of like Shangri-La and all that sort of thing as well.
I don't see why there couldn't be places like that. I mean, that's why we're paranormal investigators. It's the paranormal's not just about ghosts, it's about... The paranormal is just things we don't understand, because humans, as you know yourself, think of things in a very linear fashion, Yeah. And then along comes something completely bat-poop crazy that we don't understand, like, say, Donald Trump. And then that's when the paranormal investigators come out and go, we must look into this because nobody else is brave enough to do it.
Absolutely, and I totally agree. But yeah, you got even there was even there's been a few films about Shangri-La, and one of them I do remember. It had Yetis. So it was sort of explaining that Yetis were there to protect Shangri-La.
Oh, that was the Mummy 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones. Yeah.
But, I mean, the Nazis, they were looking for Shangri-La in their paranormal division, weren't they?
But sorry, what is Shangri-La?
Shangri-La is like a mythical land, really.
No age, you live forever. It's forever green and lush, and there's... Get your nose off my biscuits, dog. There's forever green and lush, and you've got anything you could ever want is there. Nobody gets sick. Yeah. Everything.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you'll have to look it up. Neverland, really.
Like James Stewart just said, like paradise. So I would imagine like Eden.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I know this is a little bit off topic, but again, that's a reoccurring theme throughout a lot of different religions as well, isn't there? Even in myths, like Greek mythology had, an area which was, oh goodness me, my brain tonight, I can't remember anything. Was somebody had to go and do some tasks. Hercules, was it Hercules?
Hercules, yeah.
The 12 Trials of Hercules. He had to go to one of the Godlands. It does have a name, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember what it's called. And wasn't there a tree? And anyway, we've gone well off topic. But talking of lost lands, let's have a quick talk about Atlantis, because I know it's not a cryptid, but it's like a lost land. The beings were on a bit of lost land. Atlantis is
real.
Under the sea, isn't it? And that's never been found, is it? That's never been found. So if we can't find Atlantis, which was supposed to be a great big city with, amazing, huge statues and a beautiful library and all that, there's no reason why we wouldn't have necessarily found...
Actually...
no. There's technically, Atlantis would have been... is pulled under the sea, where places like Shangri-La and things are under the earth, giving rise to the hollow earth theory.
Uh-huh.
So,
actually,
and go on.
Carry up. No, all right. There's actually just off Turkey. There's I can't remember which bit, but I remember reading about it. Some guy thinks he's triangulated where the remains of Atlantis went, and they've been to this place just off Turkey, and they've started digging up bits of building and foundations and stuff from thousands of years ago. So I will look into that for you, but I remember reading about that.
Well, there's also a description of where Atlantis could have been, and I think it was Plato or one of those sort of people that wrote about where it was, and they talk about the Pillars of Hercules. Now, the Pillars of Hercules actually exist.
Yeah, they're mountains, aren't they?
Do you know what? I don't know, because I've not actually seen them. But I just know that they're referred to, and they do actually exist. So, could it be that he actually knew where it was?
Well, I think that's a subject for a whole new show, to be fair, because we need to get back to water cryptids, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, Mark, I want to take... Yeah, keep you two boys in check.
It's all connected. It's all connected to water cryptids. So,
right, Mark. I want to take you home to Ireland.
Dabachu.
Ah, well done. Thank you for doing that and not making me try and pronounce it.
I heard that, Paul. I'll be speaking to you tomorrow.
Tell us a little bit about this thing.
Dabachu it's actually described as like half dog and half otter, or with a bit of fish in there. And it's covered in long, thick hair, and it's supposed to have a snaking body. But the pictures and woodcuts I've seen of Dabachu, it looks like, the giant salamander in Japan?
Yeah.
It looks like a massive form of that. It looks like a dirty, great big salamander with long hair. And seeing, the giant salamander, there was all these legends. I can't remember the name of the Japanese water cryptid monster, but it basically turns out it was this giant salamander. So I'm just wondering if there are a few of these extremely rare and elusive dirty great big salamanders, not just in Ireland but in other places. It could be that. But Dabachu has been seen over hundreds and hundreds of years, all the way down through Gaelic legend and everything.
Well, there was one thing that was quite interesting about this, and I really wonder how they found out this particular myth about it, was that it was able to keep up with a galloping horse. That's how fast it was.
Well, if it's got legs, so,
I know, but what did they do? Race a horse against one? I mean, how do you do...
It was chasing one. It's probably got Usain Bolt's DNA in it as well, by the sounds of it. But it's supposed to be heavy set, very large, and yes, move as fast as a horse, both on land and in water. So, and it's supposed to be 2 gravestones, including one in County Leitrim, dating back to 1722, of people who were reportedly attacked and killed by Dabachu. So that's why I say it's been going for hundreds of years in Celtic legend, and I'm sure there's a variant of it in Scotland as well. But it's been going for hundreds and hundreds of years. And again, it's one of those things, there's too many reports, you've got people like priests and doctors and this, that and the other who've reported these things. So if it was just like Joe Blogs or Jesus said, I make your family coming home from the pub, I saw the Dabachu. No, Frank, it was the Irish setter, you're drunk again, So, do you see what I mean?
I do see what you mean, I do. But the problem I have, and I have this problem with cryptids in general, is that I find some of them so far-fetched, so hard to believe. And I suppose it's one of those situations of unless you see it, you have to take it at face value. You can't, do you know what I mean? I don't want to...
You've got to see it before you believe it.
No,
yeah.
I get you. But, it's... For things like that, and for Nessie, if it's gone back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and there have been sightings that have been marked down, written down, and this, that, and the other, when you think that back in the 16th century, if you could write, you were paid a fortune as a scribe, So it was only, if people wrote this down, there must have been something tangible to pay somebody to write this down,
Now that's a fair point, actually, particularly in like the old, like 1700 things, or are they just legends that have been you lose your ship at sea, because you're a bad sailor, and you know, you've got to go back and explain to the ship owner what happened, and you know what I mean. You go, oh, we got attacked by a kraken, or you know, you're not going to just say, oh, it was a giant squid. You know what I mean? It was like, it adds that level of, oh, well, the gods were against us on that trip. We got attacked by a kraken. I don't know. I mean, is that what this is, or is this?
No, I can see exactly what you're talking about, especially with ships and things like that. But something had to have been there in the first place to get the people to either embellish on it and saying, oh, there was 20 kraken, or one, or whatever. But there had to have been something there in the first place.
True. Which brings us on to the next thing that I'd like to talk about, which Akila in the chat room has just brought up, which is mermaids.
Oh, right, yeah, go on.
I do love a mermaid.
Talk about the mermaids.
Yeah, mermaids. They're so cute. Or well, for girls they're quite cute. For you boys, they're not quite so nice, are they?
No. See, the trouble with mermaids is it's all encompassing. There's so many different types and so many. You've got the cute, fluffy ones from Splash. You've got there's little tiny ones that are like half piranha. Where is it? Not Indochina. Somewhere around there, and they're all over the place, and all different variants, and all different tales, and all different stories. They're seen as far as I don't know. There's supposed to be some off the coast of Ireland, some off the coast of Scotland, some out in the Bahamas, Nassau, all the places where the pirates went. But that makes me think of pirates and whiskey, so I'm discounting some of them because they're probably drunk as a skunk. But again, there has to be something there, because as you know, like humans, Homo sapiens and that, there was originally, 30 years ago, there was supposed to have been humans and Neanderthals, and that was it. Now we know there was at least 20 to 30 different types of hominids, all living together at the same time, including the new hobbit ones that have been found off Papua New Guinea. So why couldn't there have been some sort of variant that coped with living in the water?
True, but there's been, I think with mermaids, they resonate quite a lot with people, and I'm going to put it out there a little bit. My opinion would be they resonate with females. I mean, even to this day, you can buy mermaid tails, can't you, and go swimming with a mermaid tail, and even like the knitted thing that you can like get a little snuggle that's knitted and it's like a mermaid tail, and there's almost like a connection people feel specifically to mermaids. And there's so many, like you said, there's so many tales around mermaids that excuse the pun there, throughout the centuries of, you know, the siren song of the mermaid luring you into the depths. I know the siren is slightly different to a mermaid, but mermaids are supposed to have beautiful singing voices and would, you know, drag men down to their watery depths and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But there's, even to this day, it's quite a cultural thing, isn't it? It's quite a... People really do resonate with the mermaid.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, it comes from... I mean, a lot of the mermaid things, you've got the ones that came back from the sailors saying that they'd seen a mermaid when it turns out it was a dugong or something like that. But you've also got, like, Slavic legends. You've got the Bergenhaus type of mermaid, which comes from Slavic mythology. And basically, they were the keepers of the lakes, if you like, and the keepers of the rivers. And sort of, they were like shepherds, and their sheep were there with the fish and everything like that. And if they were upset, that was when you got the torrid river, because they were running the horses through the river to show that they were really upset. So you've got things like that. But wherever there's water, you're going to get sort of some type of mermaid. I mean, you've got what were they? Vilas in Serbia, and they were winged mermaids. So, you know, they're often depicted with hooves as well, but they only come out when the rain falls in spring. You know, so you can sort of see a pattern coming along. And then you've got Lobster, or Labasta, I should say, the evil mermaid. And that's a Turkish legend. So they're all round the world. What else have we got? We've got I can't even know if I'm pronouncing this right. Skotija. It's a Russian-Ukrainian type of mermaid. What else? there. I'm just trying to see what else. But that mermaid is the patron saint of girls who got drowned in the spring. You've got Mavkas, which are from Slavic mythology, and they basically lured gullible people to their deaths in the lakes. And you've got Undines, which you probably may have heard of. They were some sort of demigod, weren't they? And they normally haunted lakes and stuff, but they also protected the waters from being polluted, which was quite a good thing.
Around a lot of these names and legends about mermaids, most of the time they're not particularly nice. I mean, again, they're kind of bloodthirsty man-eaters, which is what Akila has said in the chat room. But do you think it's commercialism that has, like, fluffified that legend, like the Little Mermaid? Do you think that has a lot to do with how we view them almost like as quite a nice thing now?
Well, as James Steele said, Hans Christian Andersen retold an old story and made it what it is now. But I've got one thing to say about how people see mermaids these days, and that's under the sea.
Well, mermaids are so interesting because even to date, there are still people saying they've seen mermaids, and if you look on the internet, there's still people that are doing some great Photoshop work with alleged real mermaids, and films that are supposed to be mermaids swimming with shoals of fish, and but even there are still sightings even today of just normal people saying that.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like Akila says, she's down in Devon, Cornwall. I mean, myself and Lindsay, we're from Somerset, and she's spot on. There's still legends of mermaids down there. Not so much Somerset, but definitely Devon and Cornwall, you know, and yeah, they're supposed to be bloodthirsty ones that if you go down there, they're just going to go, oh, human kebab, come here, you know? And they're very much like the ones that are in Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's true. But there's also a very big crossover, isn't there, between the mermaids of the sea that are supposed to, you know, drown the sailors, you know, all that sort of side of it. But like you touched on, like Lady of the Lake. Now that's, it's sort of like classed as the same thing. Paul, it's like, it's not a mermaid, it's a Lady of the Lake. It's like a spirit that's attached to the lake. It's a completely different entity.
It's almost described as like a fairy or an elemental of the lake, I think.
That's right.
I think personally, my own theory, because you know I've always got a theory about something paranormal, my own theory with mermaids as we know them is it's the story of sirens that's been misheard, misinterpreted and bastardized, and that's how we ended up with those mermaids. Purely because you've got all the different, as you just said, all the different ladies of the lakes, etc., 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 all throughout history from all cultures, and they nearly always, you've got protectors of the water, but it's only when you come out to sea that you've got the nasty ones that go, I'm going to eat you. But if you go back to the time of the sirens, if you check before that time, there's not really any stories about anything else other than sirens. So I think that modern day mermaids have stemmed from the sirens legend. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's an interesting point. I think that is an interesting point. And like you said, like with, you know, the Little Mermaid and Hans Christian Andersen and all that, it commercialised it a little bit more. It made it more of a fairy tale, something that's a lot more fluffy, rather than moving away from the actual legend of sailors and people that worked and lived by the sea.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, James has just put a good point up in the chat room, which I'm going to put over to you two. Do spirits get trapped in water and mirrors? Something about the light refraction, and he's spot on there. Kerry.
From my experience, there is a possibility of a spirit becoming trapped in water, but my experience with mirrors is slightly different because a mirror will reflect and magnify the energy that is it's showing. So if you've got a mirror near water, then it would have an effect, but I don't necessarily think a mirror, like mirror on the wall, I think you're referring to. I wouldn't say a mirror would trap a spirit, but I definitely think water could, because water has memory.
You've also got nymphs and everything like that as well, haven't you? And sprites.
You do, but water has memory, which is the basis of homeopathy. And scientists have actually looked into this, and it's a controversial. It's only been looked at by a couple of people, and the first guy's research, and I can't remember the name, I was looking into this and I can't remember the guy's name, but they definitely looked at water in regard to adding essential essences and oils into the water, and then they dilute the water down so much that there's no possibility of a trace of the original essence being in the water, but the water molecule has, under a magnifying glass, changed and shows that. I'm not wording this very well, but I posted this up in my group because it was so interesting. And people say that homeopathy is almost like a placebo effect, but this guy came along and actually said, no, water has memory. It remembers the essence of the I can't think of the word, the oil, or the substance that was added to it, so it has memory. So I do think that water is very incredibly important in regard to energy when you're in a location, going into the paranormal with this, in a location. And because of water's properties in regard to you can scry with water, it's the most essential element of life. You can live longer without food than you can without water. And we've talked about this before, haven't we, guys?
Yep.
We have indeed.
So I think it's incredibly important, water. Now, I do think water can be a portal. I think you have to be very, very careful with it. Oh, mercury, we're talking something completely different. We're talking a completely different element when you're looking at old mirrors with mercury. And that would be a possibility to trap a spirit. But that's a different subject completely. Sorry, I'm answering James's questions in the chat room regarding mirrors. But I think water is an incredibly important element. And going back to what we were saying, in regards to the paranormal, water in itself can be a portal, so it's really important not to discount it. I mean, how many times have we said, was there any sacred water wells around it? Are there any brooks? Are there any, what's the water basin underneath the location? And looking at that, not just about the geology of the place, but where the water lies and whether or not that's a factor within a paranormal investigation. Now, if we're talking about elementals in regard to water, then if that's becomes a factor and you're looking at paranormal investigation, you embrace the possibility of elementals in your investigations, then surely if you've got a water elemental, it's possible that it could come through and affect an investigation. I don't know. It's just a theory because you can't prove that there are elementals.
You can scry with water, so
you can.
And that's energy. So I reckon you've hit the nail on the head there.
Paul?
No, I agree with that, to be honest. Even when there's like in locations when we do paranormal investigating and looking for spirits, if there's a well or underground rivers and streams and things, it can add to the energy of the spirit.
Yeah. Very much so.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely energy and that in water, definitely.
Yeah.
But I do know a medium, a friend of mine. She claims that if you have like mirrors facing each other, it can open up a portal to another
infinity
dimension.
Mirror. Yeah.
And what she's done, she's got some tiles, some mirror tiles, and made a box with all the mirrors inwards. Yep. And she's actually put a speaker in the middle of it. And when you do your EVP, she'll press record on the voice recorder, and you can actually hear things come through on that, and it's very, very clear as well. So
is it sort of like an infinity mirror?
She calls it a devil's box, but yeah, that sort of thing. All the mirrors are facing each other inside, and you just got the speaker thing in the middle. Or the microphone even, and it picks up all the voices and stuff from that.
I wonder if it would be interesting then to do take that thought a step further and actually put that infinity, devil's box or whatever you want to call it, into water, and see, obviously not completely submerge it.
If you get electrocuted.
Well, that would kind of...
I was thinking you wouldn't be able to submerge it completely, would you? Obviously. And you'd have to have something in the middle that kept the equipment free from the water.
Can I just point something out about this? That if you're going to put a speaker in the water, as Kerry's just suggested, put a bass bin in there, whack the tunes up, and you'll have the family nest coming along.
And then Nessie comes along and parties through its time slip.
Party Ness.
It's a thought. I was just having a mind thought there. It might be an idea to experiment with that.
It's something we could possibly look at. Yeah. Why not? Give it a go.
We could give it a go and see if that had any effect, because then you'd have the element of water and the mirror thing together. It's just throwing it out there.
Electric. Yeah, and lots of electric.
But you'd have to obviously make sure that doesn't... God, could you imagine it? I'm just asking for an accident waiting to happen, aren't I? Whose idea was that? Well, actually, it was Kerry Greenaway's idea.
Stand on a rubber mat first. You'd be all right, I think.
Oh, my goodness.
Daisy, you've just said, is there an area where mermaids have been spotted? If you look in the chat room, there is a story about the mermaid of Zena, and it's in Cornwall, just off St Ives. And if I remember rightly, Akila, are you on here? You should know all about that, seeing as you're down there. If you'd like to talk to Daisy about it. Anyway, carry on.
The other thing I would like to bring up regarding these water, I know we've gone off a little bit off the cryptids thing, but we want to really energy of water now. We've gone off on a different tangent.
We've gone out the door.
I want to talk about shells, because shells have very specific energies, and I use shells quite a lot in various grids, but particularly if I'm working a water energy grid or something like that. But there are shell grottos, and people have said that when they enter these shell grottos, it's something energy-wise that you've never felt before.
Have you been to one?
No, I haven't been lucky enough, but isn't there one in Kent?
There is. There's one in Margate in Kent, and I've been there quite a few times, and yeah, you walk in, you can hear the sea. It's fantastic.
It's not near the sea, though, is it? It's not near the sea, is it? Is it right on the beach? Where is it?
No, it's not nowhere near the sea. It's set back a bit, but no, it's really, really beautiful in there. To be honest, whoever made it must have taken them like centuries to make.
And isn't there one in Norfolk?
I don't know, to be honest. I know of the one in Margate.
I will say one thing. You know, you were just saying about energies and stuff at the shell place.
Yep.
A lot of the beaches, especially the little small beaches down in Devon, near, I'm trying to think where it was near. There's one near Paynton and there's one near Torquay. The whole beach is made out of tiny, tiny, tiny shells. And when you go down there, you can definitely feel the energy is way different on there.
As I say, I know with my energy work that when you bring shells into a grid or something like that, it definitely brings a specific energy signature to it. Obviously, I'm using that alongside crystals, but there's a big difference between just a pure crystal grid and if you bring a different element in, and shells are one of the ones that you feel the biggest energy difference in.
Exactly, because that was a live creature once as well, so you've got that in with this as well, haven't you? You
have.
Yeah.
And linking that to the mermaids, they use shells, didn't they, to cover their bits?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've always wondered why. If you're in the water, it's going to be cold. It doesn't matter whose boat you're near. If you're too cold, you're going to key the side of the boat as you turn around. Why bother with the shells?
Well, I think that's so they don't show their bits to the sailors. Maybe they're modest. Mermaids.
They're shy.
And there's more.
No, you haven't been to Kent, have you? They're floozies.
But there's more legends surrounding mermaids than mermen, isn't there?
Yes. Well, a lot of them are to do with it's the fertility thing, you know, especially because when you look at the like Eastern and Mid-European legends, it's all to do with mermaids and protectors of the water pastures and this, that, and the other. But it's always around the turn of spring or the beginning of summer, so when it's almost fertile. So that's probably why. Also, you've got all the sailors who've been out at sea for God knows how long, who were starting to shake a bit and go slightly cross-eyed, who, quite frankly, they'll go for anything.
Yeah.
I personally think, because the mermen are all out to working hard to care for these mermaids, and all they've got to do is sit there and look pretty all day, that's it.
Well,
yeah.
on that note...
Hard work.
Oh, goodness. And on that note, we're coming to the end of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Paul Rook. I
want to answer one last question that Daisy has asked in the chat room. The temperature of ocean, sea and water memory has no relevance to where mermaids have allegedly been seen. As far as I'm aware, no. There is no link between... temperature, water memory, or where mermaids. I think mermaids have been seen across the world in lots of different types of oceans and cultures. Yeah, you're still sticking to that. But anyway, we are coming to the end of the show tonight, guys. We're coming to the end of the show. Yeah. So what has Parasearch UK Radio got for the rest of the week?
I have no idea. Do tell.
I'm probably on most of the shows.
Well, don't we have a gathering on Sunday?
Oh, yeah, we've got the gathering on Sunday, which everybody's on.
That's at 8 p.m.
So that'll be just a free-for-all.
That's right. Then Monday, we have...
Tara Palmer with the T-Files, talking about something. Probably another murderer or something, I don't know.
Okay. We're not sure on her subject, murderers, clearly.
I love the vagueness.
I know, she's talking about something.
Well, no, she's going through at the moment some murderers, so I don't know.
What, literally? Yeah. Another Dexter?
Probably. But I'm not
Tuesday?
into the murderers, so I really wouldn't like to hazard a guess on who she's talking about this
Oh,
week.
she's so interesting. Her show is so interesting.
Oh,
anyway,
absolutely. And she comes out with ones I've never even heard of.
Which is always good, because you're learning something new, aren't you? Tuesday.
Yeah. That's my show, and I'm interviewing a guy called Stephen Vernon. He is a paranormal investigator that's just set up a paranormal team in Gosport, and we're basically talking about how he got into the paranormal, what sort of how he's finding the investigations and how he's getting on. You know, if there's any pitfalls or anything. To setting up the paranormal that he didn't expect and stuff like that, really. Basically, how to set up your own paranormal team.
Okay.
Is there going to be any taking over the asylum shows again?
I don't know.
You mean like the midnight takeover? Yeah. Well, they're the pop-up shows. You have to keep your eye out. Depends on who's around at midnight, to be fair. What's going on? Probably. Well, that's all I can say to that. Probably.
Yeah. Well, it depends. You know, wine, women, and song. Paul, yeah.
Wednesdays we have Teresa and Jay, don't we? Our American contingency. They're on a Wednesday. Then Thursday we have Kerry Ann with her Seventh Sanctum. This week's show, she's just done the Jack the Ripper. Oh my goodness, that girl is awesome. Oh goodness, all I can say is she is awesome. I'm not sure what her subject is this week. Do we know?
No. I thought you were doing it with her on something, weren't you? Or was that the Jack the Ripper one? I don't know.
Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, that's Thursday.
We've also got a new show coming up as well, haven't we?
Hold on. We're just doing the existing shows at the moment. God, Mark, stop going off topic. Jeez. Then Friday we have the great paranormal debate with Paul and Kerry. They're talking about all sorts of things. And then next week, Mark and I are discussing. We're discussing the Chihuahua de Danan.
Chihuahua de Danan.
Yeah, I got that right. Blimey. So we're looking at those next week, and that's basically the fairy realm. So that is a subject that absolutely fascinates me, that one. So definitely tune in for that. If you miss all the others, don't worry. Come back and listen to me and Mark.
Don't worry about anybody else. You listen to us. We're the only reason to listen to this show. You know?
And like we say, keep your ears open. We may well do a paranormal takeover at midnight, and it's always going to be at midnight, and it's whoever's around, and we don't have a set subject. So but they're pop-up shows. We don't have a set day for that. If we fancy it, we do it. So keep your ears open for that. That was a bit crude. Anyway, on that note, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us in the chat room, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Paul?
Yeah, I'll see you all whatever show I'm on next. Yeah, absolutely.
Paul's here every day, so...
Next, the Gathering. I'll be on the Gathering Sunday, so yeah, I'll see you on Sunday.
We'll all see you there.
Guys, very good show. Loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts, Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.